So I noticed in my Entertainment Tonight style preview intro that I mentioned 4 things I'm going to talk about, and I suppose I should just get in and do that first. And the 4 things are grace, in quotes, that is, schizophrenia, and the apocalyptic days. They're probably pretty closely related. And my poem, The Meaning of Meaning. I forget if that's the title of the poem, but I'm going to post it, as they always say, up here on the left for the textually oriented. So, first one's grace. The first thing I happen to notice about grace is that grace is something you have to happen to notice. You can start walking towards
Okay.
The first thing I notice about grace is that it's something that you have to notice. Now that camera should already be on my nose.
On.
It's on my nose.
Oh, by then? Okay.
Yeah. I had grace upon grace after grace in childhood. I was sitting right there in the corn of plenty of childhood, the cornucopia of grace, but I didn't notice it consciously. I'm talking about grace that's defined as unmerited divine assistance. And the first time I really noticed this was when I noticed the generation that came along right upon my heels. I'm a kind of cusp member, of that generation known as the boomers. That's not a label I like at all, but it's just such common usage that I have to go with it too. The first time I noticed this was when I was in my early to mid-20s, and they were either 2 or 3 years up to maybe 10 years younger than I was. They, could understand what I was talking about. I could understand what they were talking about. It was a shock because everybody else, my own generation, and of course the previous, wartime generation, they were just, in their own world. I recall my friend Don Peachy, 17 years old, coming back from California, of course, with a leather headband, hair to his shoulders, black light posters, Hendrix albums, and strange little cigarettes he rolled himself. We were all pretty amusing, but the weight of our numbers, their numbers, really swung society around, and it'll never go back. We know this. I'm glad. Grace is something you feel glad of, grateful about. I was grateful for those kids. They were a huge phenomenon no one foresaw or could have made happen. Grace has to happen by grace on its own. You can tune it in by going towards it backwards. If you're interested, start feeling gratitude before it happens. Sounds crazy, but it works. Try it. Which is my exit cue. I'm starting to sound wise. Well, it's better to be a fool convinced of his foolishness rather than a wise man convinced of his wisdom, eh?